Here we are, finally, for a part 2 to my Betelgeuse tombstone. If you missed part 1, it was mainly just like making the custom skull gargoyles. And away we go. I'm using this shrinky dink film, which is essentially just a clear plastic that you can put through and basically print it out like it's a piece of paper. I'm printing out the best quality photo of the tombstone that I could find online, and I'm doing this so I can put it in my projector. But if you have a projector that you could just like plug into your computer, you definitely don't need this step. The entire base for this is made of reclaimed wood, as I do. Can I build this? Do I have the technology? These are all very skinny pieces, but different widths that I cut down to be mostly the sizes I needed. I did need to cut and sand them down further a little bit, some of them, but I digress. The plan is for this to be the width, this to go back. Oh god, I need you guys to see this. This is what I'm looking at. I planned out how the base would start out on the floor and got the size from the projector image. Base is approximately that, I'm gonna say. The good thing is that we can build out. I think that might actually be better. Yeah, I like that shape better. Okay. Which means I'm gonna need longer screws. Each piece I glued first with wood glue and then added a singular screw to put it together. I had my rectangle, and within that rectangle I added 2 more pieces within a couple centimeters of the outer ones. Then measured to where my inner upright would be going, marking that out and then creating those uprights in the same way. But without a bottom portion, because the first one that I made is going to be the bottom portion. I hope that makes sense. And being sure to make one on top of the other so they are the same in length, width, height, and square, like squared up. Using a singular screw once again to add these on where I had previously made the marks, making sure the marks actually matched up as well. Okay. I mean, it's not stable, but it's there. Now this is the most, like, trust the process kind of base. It will get better, I promise. Half on the dot. Is that enough? Between the top, I'm using a temporary support so they can actually be held together. And referencing back to the shrinky dink to make sure it fits in the sizing. Although I am using a reference photo on the projector, I'm also using it on its own to find the dimensions in comparison from the photo size to exactly where I want the location to be on the piece itself. From the very base, it's about an inch and a half. 7 times an inch and a half. And then marking that out once again with a marker. How fitting of a name, isn't it? Whoever named a marker, they really got that right. This measurement is telling me where the pink plastic will go eventually, but I first need to add on some more supports. So the top will extend further up here, but from here to here, so in between that, will be the light source. To add more stability and shape to the bottom, I added some ply on. 2 pieces, one for the front and one for the back. Which I clamped in place to be sure that it actually stayed in place as I went, as I am one human being, but I would recommend help for this. I am my own dream team, guys. A one-woman show. And then 2 more pieces, which are the side pieces or the ends. Later on I will be adding on 2 more pieces to the top. But for now, it's just time to layer down and sketch some shit. finding out just how much the sculpture is actually going to extend from the top skeletal portion. So I'm measuring from the base's bottom to the skeletal portion's top, and really getting a clear image of how absolutely huge this thing is as a life-size piece in comparison to the small one that I actually got from Spirit Halloween, which I'm also referencing. I've taped all of the pieces of paper that I will be sketching onto together and using a meter stick to both measure and make straight lines as needed. Referencing both the photo and the physical miniature that I have, I'm doing the outline. First with a pencil and then drawing in all of the details I'll be cutting out, including the arrow and the Beetlejuice, which took a lot of brain power to math correctly and be sure that they're all the same size width apart and that they are all stay within a certain amount of space. Lastly, the Here Lies portion. Same gig as the Beetlejuice. To actually make the front portion, the part that has all the detailing, I'm going to be using styrofoam. Placing multiple pieces together and cutting it down as needed. Which I used the offcuts to add height. No pieces left behind on this one, guys. Moved all of that away and stuck a few garbage bags down because I rent, so these are not actually technically my floors. First I attempted to use contact cement to glue these together, but I found out quite quickly, as you can see from this short clip, that it actually started eating away at the foam. My next option was using its own family against it, kind of, like a foam Thanksgiving dinner. I had seen people online using spray foam to attach insulation foam together and make sculptures, and as it turned out, you can also do this with styrofoam, the more you know. So I added a fair bit in between all of the seams and left that for a few hours, or overnight, whichever. Feel like an amphibian. Anyways. And then using a knife that I had never ever had the chance of having it be a good kitchen knife, and now never will. I use that to cut off the excess spray foam. revealing a not smooth but not needing to be surface. Bringing back in that sketch that I had made, I will now be using an X-Acto knife to go around all of those letters and arrows to indent/cut into the styrofoam. Not all the way through, but enough that the design will transfer. I did end up taping all of these back on, and I still have this, so if I ever want to hang it up, make it like a little piece of art in an art show or something, or make another one, I have that option. I removed the paper, and I know you can't really see it, but you can just kind of see it. I didn't want to waste styrofoam, and I had this bigger, more dense piece of another type of foam that I want to find a way to get rid of anyways. So I placed my styrofoam piece over top of that and then cut out the styrofoam. Again, over something because I don't own these floors and I don't want my landlords to see this and mess me up. Once the first one was cut, I used it as a template and marked around it, almost like a dead body, I'd say. Cleaning up the previous styrofoam crime scene. And then cut that one out with scissors. I did need two pieces for this. That was a lot easier to put together simply with tape. Now that I have both the front and the back, it's time to start with some shit that nobody should be inhaling. Calling all PPE. Now, I used a plastic welding tool for this, but if you have a legitimate foam cutter, I would probably use that over this. As of now, I've used a foam cutter, but when I was doing this, I had not. And this was a better idea at the time than a knife. But I essentially burned down as far as I could go, and as you can see, there was a lot of smoke. So not only did I have my proper PPE on, I also had multiple windows open, a fan going prior, during, and long after. I came back in with my X-Acto knife and cut them further out. Again, if you have an actual foam cutter, I would recommend that. Unfortunately, we did have some casualties. No! Pour one out for the homies, the lost souls. But we salvaged them later on. We would have anyways, as with the E's and the B's have pieces within them. I know that we all know that I had to go through a lot of styrofoam to get to here, but I just want you to know how truly much I had to go through. Again, though, I cleaned up my huge graveyard of a foam mess. All those are little tiny pieces. All of those are going to probably stick to my broom in the worst possible way. Might actually vacuum them up. Place the front on to see how it would look, only to realize the original between piece of the wood was put on under the impression to myself that this would be centered for some reason. It was not. Though a fairly simple fix, I just cut another piece of the wood down to size and screwed it on over top, being sure to keep the same dimensions. And then unscrewed the other one after the first one was screwed on. As for the red glow that happens, I'm using some literal garbage that happens to be pink plastic. This is why you don't throw anything out, guys. I placed her down once again on top and cut approximately how much I would need to be able to staple it onto my pieces with plenty of seam allowance. And that's just what I did. I used a handheld tack-on stapler and I stapled it to the top piece of wood that I had just previously put on and to the bottom, and further cut off what I wouldn't need. I mean, besides the U bleeding into the S a little bit, just having plastic on there, good. It'll have light behind it eventually, but... Alright. Remember when I accidentally put all this on and like dealt with that? I actually kept the pieces that I had cut off, which is helpful now. As past Sarah has mentioned, I kept all of these pieces of spray foam, which was definitely helpful, and I simply glued them on to random places that looked good with hot glue and held them in place for a few seconds. Oh my god. One of my favorite hacks. Put some glue at the end of your next glue stick and it'll stick to itself. To adhere everything together, I'm placing the back down on the ground, on the right side that it's supposed to be on, putting the back of the base down on top where I want it to actually permanently be situated, and then using spray foam all over, on the inside dimensions, on the outside dimensions. And then once that bulked up a little bit, I'm also using it on top of the wood to connect everything and make it one piece. This is where I finally placed those two other pieces of ply. They are different sizes, but they fit absolutely perfectly. No need to even screw them down, which is good because I didn't have a place to screw them down. However, it's at a point I decided to test out the light, which is just a full LED strip that I got from Amazon. And I used zip ties to attach it to the pre-existing frame that I had previously made. Hence the pre-existing, right? Placing the front back on and adding the missing pieces back into the letters with both hot glue and a wire to make the seam almost invisible. Finally securing that styrofoam to the base with 2 screws. And gathering up all of the hot glue spiderwebs that were there, which was a lot. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video and stay tuned for part 3. Bye guys.